Morning, I'm Ahern Jr. This is my weekly report as your Grafton County Commissioner from District 3, serving the towns of Plymouth and Hebron and Holderness and all the way up to Dorchester and Warren and over to Bristol and Alexandria and way over to Canaan. And I appreciate the Pemmy Baker Television letting me come each week and share with you a little bit about what it is going on a regular basis up at the county complex and county government up in North Haverhill. I am one of 3 county commissioners. Again, I represent District 3. The chairman of the Grafton County Board of Commissioners is Linda Lauer. She's the commissioner from District 2. And then the commissioner from District 3 is Commissioner Wendy Piper. And we meet at least once a week on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. And those meetings up at North Haverhill in the administration building are open to the public. So I encourage and invite anyone here listening on public, the Pemmy Baker Television to come on up every Tuesday morning. And we have an additional treat for you beginning this week, because tomorrow morning, starting at 9 o'clock, we're going to start the budget discussions. The commissioners have to prepare a budget and present it to the county delegation. And again, the county delegation are those folks that are your elected state reps from all over the county, and they are the ones that approve the budget. So sometime in May, or late May or early June, the commissioners are going to be presenting the budget. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but tomorrow, Thursday, the 2nd of March, we will be looking at the sheriff's budget, his revenue projections and his expenses. We'll be looking at the high sheriff of Grafton County is Doug Dutile. He's a good man, good sheriff. The county attorney, Laura Saffo, she will be presenting her budget tomorrow, Thursday, March 2nd. We'll also hear from the treasurer of Grafton County, and we'll also hear from the Conservation District. So if you're interested in any of those programs or in any of those agencies in Grafton County, you may want to stop up. Not sure when this is going to be on the television for you folks to see, but again, beginning tomorrow, we will be meeting every Thursday, the county commissioners, to go over the budgets for each of the departments. We'll be talking about the nursing home, the Department of Corrections, the Information Technology Department, health and we actually have a Health and Human Resources department, and regular human resources, and we have the farm operation, which is very important to me as we try to run the nursing home and the jail up there and Department of Corrections up at Grafton County. A couple of little other pieces of information for you. You're going to hear me talking about the nursing home. We have a wonderful nursing home up there. The nursing home administrator is Craig Labor, and we have a total of 135 beds in our nursing home. And as of February 7th, we have 9 Medicare patients, 95 Medicaid patients, and we have private pay of 26 patients, and that's a total of 130 beds that are filled. So we have 5 open beds at the nursing home, and if you have a family member who you feel would be appropriate for the nursing home, you can certainly contact Mary Tyler at the Grafton County Nursing Home. She is our intake person there. Mary does a great job. As I have said over the years, we have some very wonderful, dedicated employees up at Grafton County. So yesterday, on February 28th, 2017, the commissioners met at 9 o'clock for their regular weekly meeting, and the meeting started at 9 o'clock, and the first department head to report was Brent Ruggles. Brent is the Information Technology Manager, and he presents us with a very detailed report whenever he meets with us, and he meets with us at least once a month. He did meet with us last week to get permission from the commissioners to buy a number of computers for the Department of Corrections. But yesterday was his regular meeting with us, and He does a great job. Every department at the Grafton County complex involves information technology, computers and printers, and Brent and his crew, Barry and Joey are his two co-workers. They do a great job. So Mr. Ruggles talked with us about the work that he does at the farm, and then Brent talked a little bit more about what his, specifically dealing with his information technology department as he gets ready to prepare his budget. The maintenance department, register of deeds, the nursing home has a whole host of issues that he deals with. The sheriff's office, dispatch center. Yes, we do have a county dispatch center up there, and we serve a number of towns in Grafton County to help them with their dispatch needs. So the sheriff's department got 14 new training laptop computers, and it just goes on and on and on. So we appreciate the work that Brent Ruggles does at the Information Technology Office, and his two staff people, Barry and Joey. They do a great job. The next person that we met with was Karen Clough, the Human Resource Director, and we met with her in non-public session discussing some personnel issues. So I'm bound by RSA 91-A not to disclose anything that was discussed in a non-public session. You can check that out. It's pursuant to New Hampshire RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, comma, in paren, small a, close paren. But Karen runs the Human Resource Department, and we get at least one monthly report from her. But she had to come in specially yesterday to talk with us about some issues pertaining to, I can tell you this, employee compensation. And that's a very important part of what we do. One of the things that's very important for you folks to know is county government, county services is very, very people intensive. And, you know, we're dealing with the residents of the Department of Corrections, used to be known as inmates at the Department of Corrections. Those are people, men and women, who are in trouble with the law, and they're incarcerated there or pretrial confinement. Our residents at the nursing home, which I just talked about, we have 130 residents that are there right now. And of course, all the employees that it takes to provide the services for the Department of Corrections, the nursing home, the farm, and county government in the registry of deeds, etc. So we're very, very people intensive, and there's a lot of money involved in that. There's salaries, there's benefits, there's health insurance, and these are some very difficult questions that we're going to have to be dealing with over the next month or 2 months as we prepare the budget. And one little aside, it's so important for you folks out there to contact your state representatives. Here in District 8, your three state representatives are Representative Suzanne Smith, yes. Sorry, Suzanne. Sorry, Suzanne Smith from Hebron. Tyler, no, from Plymouth, the student. Travis Bennett, excuse me, Representative Bennett. And the new state rep from Plymouth, Representative Steve Rand. So those are your three state representatives that are serving Holderness, Plymouth, and Hebron. You need to talk with them if you have any concerns about the budget. We also have Representative Dwayne Brown from up in Wentworth, Representative David Binford over in the Orford area. Of course, new state representative Tiffany Johnson from Campton, Representative Steve Darrell. These are just a few of your state reps who are ultimately going to vote on and approve the county budget. And that's where your tax dollars are going, folks, is what's in the county budget. And the county budget's been going up every year for the last number of years. And if you're concerned about that...
How much has it gone up, Omer, about percentage-wise? Do you have an idea?
Oh, I know. It went up something like 8%. That doesn't, overall, some towns went up 12%. A couple of towns, I think Campton didn't go up at all, and I'm not sure if that's due to Representative Eric Johnson, but most every town in the district.
It's not the same percentage town to town.
Correct.
And what,
It's based upon, I think it's all has something to do with the assessment of the town, the property assessments in your towns. And I have those figures here, but I wasn't prepared to really talk about that today. But the only thing that I can tell you is the county taxes have been going up every year. One of the reasons why they say the taxes went up last year was because of the renovations that they had to do to the county nursing home last year. The next report that we had yesterday, I don't mean to cut you off, Julie, but that's a good question, and I'll try to be prepared for that for the next meeting. There's just so much stuff, you know, dealing with the Northern Pass, dealing with Operation Impact at the Department of Corrections, and now we're also I'm going to talk now more specifically about the report that Superintendent Tom Elliott, Tom is I guess you're never a former Marine, but Tom served our country in the United States Marine Corps, and we're very appreciative for Superintendent Elliott's service there. Superintendent Elliott presented us with his monthly report. We have a 150-bed, what I consider new Department of Corrections, and at this time our population there, we have 84 inmates in-house. Unit F, there are 29 inmates there. That's our medium security pod. Unit E, there are 15 inmates there. That's the female pod, and we are housing 3 Coos County female inmates there. Coos County does pay us to house their female inmates, plus Coos County picks up all of the medical costs for those female inmates in Unit E. Unit D, there are 22 inmates there. That's the male minimum security pod. Unit C, there are 15 inmates there. That's the maximum security pod. 13 of those 15 are pretrial detainees. So we're holding them for the court. And then again, the other 2 people in the maximum security unit are there for protective custody. Also, we have some residents there who are suffering through some mental illnesses, and they're also housed in the maximum security unit. Out of facility, we have 29 people that we have out of facility. They are on electronic monitoring. That's the ankle bracelets. We have 22 males and 7 females that are out of the facility.
that's interesting, Omar. However, why do you want us to know that?
No.
Information. The list of the tally, the population.
Oh, I just thought you might be interested in the different pods that we have there and what the different purposes are and how those 84 inmates are housed. I think the pod program was a good idea.
Is it going up? Is the population going up? Is it going down?
Actually, the last few months, our population has been around 98 inmates in the facility, higher than what this 84 is that I mentioned here. Again, we have a total of 150 beds that are, available right now in the various pods. But that's a good question. Superintendent Elliott talked about the community corrections report. Again, we have electronic monitoring. We are supervising 5 there, and we have no residents who are out on work release. Work release is when the inmates have to come back in the evening or on the weekends, but during the day, by court order, they are allowed to go out and work. Operation Impact, I think I talked about that. Sergeant Chris Larson conducts presentations at the various schools. Within the last month, he did presentations. And again, what Operation Impact is designed to do is to educate our young people about the dangers of drugs and alcohol and how to, deal with bullying issues in the school. And this is all designed to educate our young people so that, 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, they've learned these skills now so that they don't become inmates in our House of Correction. It's designed to ultimately save money for the taxpayer. So last month, Sergeant Chris Larson did presentations at the Lisbon Regional School, Lakeway Elementary School, Indian River School, Lebanon Middle School. He made a presentation 2 weeks ago at the Plymouth Rotary Club, and he did a supervised, court-ordered jail tour. So parents, if you would like to have one of your or several of your children that you're concerned about, Sergeant Larson does offer tours of the correctional facility. You can call the correctional facility and make arrangements. Actually, the phone number, Sergeant Larson, don't get mad at me for giving out your phone number, but the phone number up there is 787-2041. 787-2041, extension 3 for Sergeant Chris Larson. And he's willing to take some young people that might benefit from a tour of the Department of Corrections. One other program that Superintendent Elliott brought to our attention. They're going to be starting on July 10th a new program called Focused Intentional Reentry and Recovery Movement. It's going to be affectionately known as FIRM, F-I-R-R-M. And what it is, it's a multi-task program to work with our inmates to get them off the drugs and the alcohol, give them the counseling, help them to learn some life skills so that they won't be relapsing, and get them into some employment opportunities, job skills training, so that, and it's a year-long program, they have to commit to it, the inmates have to commit to it. And again, the idea behind this program is to reduce recidivism, so that these young people that come into our Department of Corrections, we can work with them, help them deal with their issues, get them some good jobs out in the community ultimately, and so that they can take care of their families and no longer be burdens on the county. So it's the focused intentional reentry and recovery movement, and this is going to be really ultimately a savings program for the taxpayers of Grafton County. So that was a program there. The next presentation was by Mr. Bill Gilding, the Alternative Sentencing Director. Again, alternative sentencing is another program designed to keep people out of the House of Correction, keep people out of the jail. And right now, the alternative sentencing program, they deal with drug treatment. Right now in their drug treatment court program, court diversion program, they have 22 participants there, 8 female and 13 males. He also works with the mental health court, and we have 33 participants in the mental health diversion program. And we also have a separate program, adult diversion. We have 15 participants in the adult diversion program, and just a lot of opportunities to work with these young people that come into the court system, take an opportunity, especially if it's their first offense, to divert them with the consent of the judge and working with the county attorney's office, the defense attorneys, to give these young people some intensive therapy, working with professionals, therapists, and getting them some different outlooks on life. The other thing that the alternative sentencing program works with is the Juvenile Restorative Justice Program, and Bill works with the Katie program here in Plymouth, working with the director of the Katie program, Deb Narrow. He also has other juvenile restorative programs, juvenile restorative justice programs up in the Littleton area, and there's another program over in the Lebanon, Hanover area. So there's just a lot of work that's going on at Grafton County. The hope is, the plan is, that these programs are ultimately going to save the taxpayers money by getting to these young people ahead of time, so that they don't become a burden on society. They don't go into our correctional program where it can be very expensive to house an inmate in our correctional program. The last...
Not to mention it's not good for them either.
No, it's not good for them, their families. No, I attended the alternative sentencing graduation program a couple of weeks ago. And the young people that were graduating, very, very, sad to hear their stories, but at the same time, they've learned a lot, so you're glad to hear the outcome of their stories. But their children, their little children were there to see mom in one case and dad in another case graduating from this program. And, their spouses were there, in some cases parents and aunts and grandparents were there. So, it's just a lot of work that needs to go on. But, again, because it's so people intensive, you have case managers, you have LADAC people, counselors, and it all costs money. It all costs money. And I'm constantly, as a new commissioner, I'm going to be constantly talking with the directors and the managers of these programs, reevaluating the cost benefits of these programs so that I can be as frugal and sensible in spending as I can, because that's what I owe you folks as the taxpayers here of Grafton County. Trying to also make sure that I question whether or not what is being done, is that really a program that Grafton County should be doing? Or is this a program that the state of New Hampshire should be funding? So I ask a lot of tough questions. Sometimes I don't always receive as good an answer. So sometimes I have to wait for the answers to be brought back to the Board of Commissioners. And I'm asking these questions in the board meetings so the other two commissioners are there, so they can have the benefit of my concerns, my questions, because my experiences with county government go way back to my years growing up at the Sullivan County home in Unity, New Hampshire, and my 2 terms serving as a Sullivan County Commissioner in 1989 through 1992, and my previous term as the Grafton County Commissioner. Our last item of our commissioners meeting was hearing from the nursing home administrator, Craig Labor, and he came in with a non-public issue. So I can't talk about that very sensitive issue, but Mr. Labor is keeping us appraised of what that situation is. Every week at our county commissioners meeting, the commissioners receive copies of all the checks that have been cut by the various departments and what bills have been paid, what the payrolls are, what supplies have been purchased, and I try to look at those as carefully as I can. And there are some questions that I'm having about some of the expenses in the food items and what we're purchasing for food into a facility that has a dairy farm, has chickens, has pigs, and has a fantastic vegetable program there. So I'm going to be asking some more tough questions about that. I think last week I talked a little bit about the Grafton Economic Development Program, and there are several programs that the county is involved with. Usually Grafton County is the recipient of grants. Doesn't necessarily mean there's money, tax dollar money going, except we do spend about $50,000 a year to help fund some of the administrative parts of the Grafton Economic Development Corporation. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that as the budget process goes on. But Commissioner Lauer, as the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, signed a CDBG drawdown for the WREN program, $12,500. WREN is a women's project out of the Littleton area. And then the second document that Commissioner Lauer signed was a CDBG closeout document for the Guile Hill Community Development Block Grant. That's what CDBG stands for, Community Development Block Grant. And that's coming from the feds through the state to the county. We also, the last item on the Commissioners' issues was we had an update on the Department of Motor Vehicles rental space. The county owns the county courthouse up there in North Haverhill. We rent space to the court system, Superior Court, the Circuit Court. We also rent space to the probation department up there. So there's some income coming from there. A couple of weeks ago, the county administrator, Julie Libby, advised us that the rental space for the Department of Motor Vehicles was coming up for renewal. And she presented us with the proposed lease agreement. And I asked, you know, is there any increase in the amount of rent? And she said, no, this is the standard rental agreement that we sign every 2 or 3 years whenever it comes up. And she said there hasn't been any increase in rent in several years. So I said, we need to talk with the state of New Hampshire about paying more rent. You know, the utilities have gone up, cost of electricity, water and sewer. Yes, the Department of Motor Vehicles uses that for licensing and so on for the people up in the North Haverhill, Lebanon area, but they still are using our facilities. So the commissioners agreed, the other 2 commissioners agreed that we should go back to the state and ask them to consider going up on what they pay for rent. And she reported to us yesterday that, yep, we're going to get $25 a month more for that space. It's, you know, they pay $200 a month now. $25 a month isn't too bad. It's a reasonable amount to go up. So every month we deal with the talking about the Northern Pass issues, and we talk usually with the county attorney about that. Commissioner Lauer reported that she went to a site evaluation technical committee meeting last week where she was cross-examined by the applicant's attorneys and the attorney for the public as to the concerns that Grafton County has. That's an ongoing issue. Many of you out there are already involved with fighting the Northern Pass, and when I ran for office, I made it a point to let you know that I'm against the Northern Pass, but that if it's going to come into Grafton County, come into the state of New Hampshire, the lines need to be buried and no above ground towers or lines anywhere in the state of New Hampshire. So that's what we're kind of working at as your county commissioners. We're all on board there. So this is where we are. I don't know if there's any questions from Juliet here from the Pemmy Baker television station, but again, I just want to thank the Pemmy Baker television folks for allowing me this time to talk with you. Again, I'd be very pleased to hear from any of my constituents or anyone in Grafton County about any concerns you have